Breaking news, SEC suing Elon Musk. They subpoenaed him over his acquisition of Twitter, and he did not comply, so now they are suing him in San Francisco court. This is what I would tell you about this, though. Shouldn't they be looking at Twitter's former management that inflated their financials to show more users than there really were when it was a publicly traded company, when this affected the stock price, than when Elon Musk bought the company for more than market value and now took it private? Like, what possibly could Gary Gensler be worried about here? And I think more and more his tenure at the SEC has shown he is willing to use the SEC as a political weapon. So we will see how that develops. Hopefully he has a little more success with Elon than he has with crypto companies here as of late, but I doubt it. Cardano stablecoin, Ardania. This is one that I thought was interesting. I put a little money into it. I didn't buy a lot of it. But you know, it's one thing when a project fails. But in this case, one of the main project heads essentially gambled everyone's money away. Took their money, made a bunch of risky investments in other cryptocurrencies, and lost it all, and the project had to fold. And this is really a shame. This is where we do need more, disclosures and protections for investors, because there's not a lot you can do here. It was a compelling project, seemed like it had some potential, but the people that were actually in charge of the funds, instead of investing in this thing for the long term, they decided to gamble away everyone's money. Really a shame. And again, that was a project that was built on Cardano, nothing specifically to do with Cardano. It happens in every ecosystem, unfortunately. Ripple versus the SEC is a settlement back on the table. You would think so logically. There's not a lot of good ways out for the SEC, not a lot more they could win. They already got these security violations via Ripple. I think if they go to appeals, Ripple will probably be able to strip out a lot of the overseas sales, along with some of their ODL transactions. Those don't even involve investors. I think it only can get worse for them. The problem is when you try to use logic with these people. So many times I said, you know what? This is going to be a problem for Gary Gensler if he loses. He really should settle. Makes most sense for both parties. Well, what makes most sense, unfortunately, does not seem to dictate the actions of the SEC. I thought this was interesting. Jamie Dimon telling us all, don't worry. Soon employees will only work 3.5 days a week and live to be 100 years old. Isn't that fantastic? Stuart Alderati saying there is so much wrong with the SEC's brief in the Coinbase case. I don't know where to begin. Let's start with the SEC claiming, without citing any support, that digital assets have no inherent value, while collectible baseball cards do. This is what they do. They just make wild claims. You can't say making a fast and cheap cross-border payment isn't valuable, or being able to secure your own value in a wallet that no one can touch. These are inherent attributes of networks, being able to decentralize, finance in a way where we can earn yield and things like that without intermediaries taking a bunch of fees. There's obviously inherent value, and just because the SEC says things like this, and they're a regulatory agency, doesn't make it truth. And this is the problem. They don't have to have any substance to what they do. They just like to sue everyone because they know it's going to do damage. Time damage in terms of it really slows down production within blockchain, and also stops a lot of investors from pouring money into this space. That's all they got. They're a one-trick pony here with nothing else. And they don't really care about the law when they do this. And that's not the way they should be asking. Moonchaser says the following: anyone else enjoying the discourse about XRPL clawback amendments? And I got to tell you, I really am liking to see the Elephant and David Schwartz go back and forth on this issue. They both have varying opinions on this, and a lot of people out there. And, I get it. Inherently, I usually would not like, clawback features and things like that. But in this case, I think if you're going to be a serious contender with stable coins and assets like that, it's going to be a must. So you got to decide, do you want to have that functionality or not? And to me, I think one of the most compelling things you could do with the XRP ledger is bring on USDC and Tether and a bunch of stable coins and have really fast payments. You can probably get liquidity on a lot of the other exchanges and be able to zip USDC at almost no cost and settle anywhere in the world. I think it's going to be fantastic. It should raise the trade volume also on the decentralized exchange there, being able to trade XRP and other assets into stable coins. And so I like what this will bring to the space. The question is, how do we do that? Do we have this clawback feature or not? Again, makes me nervous. Will it someday, roll over to the native asset of the chain? But if it's just for issued assets, ahead of time that's the deal. If you're using a stable coin and it has that feature, enabled, if law enforcement or some other government agency comes, after you and wants your funds, they can take it. That's the deal before you start. So to me, that is okay. Someone asked me, would a clawback feature kind of be like writing a check? Like you go to a retail location, you write a check, and then cancel payment. And it wouldn't work like that from a user's perspective. Like you couldn't send a payment to someone in USDC and then cancel that payment and claw it back. It really would be Circle that would do this. And typically it would be, fraud, or the government's coming after you. They have a court order, and then they would claw back those funds essentially and repossess that value. It wouldn't be for like individual users being able to buy something per se, and then claw back if there's an issue. It won't work like that. It would be more of a kind of legal type of thing from the issuer standpoint. Someone commented on my video, XRP, and they meant Ripple, holds over 50% of the total tokens. This means it isn't decentralized. And it's true, the ownership of the asset is not decentralized. Ripple owns the lion's share of it. And I really hate that term because people just try to use catchphrases to catch everything. We're talking about network. Do the payments, settle in a decentralized way? Voting of features, ownership of the assets. Like, there's so many things that you can't capture everything just by saying decentralized or, centralized. It doesn't really work like that. So this person is correct. You have to factor that in. That one singular entity owns a lot of the supply. We see this even in Tesla, and Musk and his family members own a lot of the company, probably more than you would like to see. There's risk there. You got to factor it in when investing in this token. I think so far Ripple's been a pretty good custodian of all that value. That's why they still hold so much. If they were dumping it, they wouldn't hold 50% any longer, but it's reasonable and logical, and they are going to sell into the market, and they're going to continue for a long time. So just factor that in, but it doesn't make the XRP ledger itself and its functionality centralized in any way. Next comment here. What up, Jungle? How do you think we will do in the upcoming bull run with XRP? I got to tell you this. I gave up on price predictions. And a lot of this is going to have to rely on how big does cryptocurrencies grow? How much adoption do we see? Do we get some of these ETF products in where, big investors can start piling into this asset class? I think compared to its contemporaries, other top 10 assets, out of the top 10, I think XRP may do the very best in terms of growth percentage. How high that ultimately goes is going to be dependent on a lot of factors, one of which is just how much adoption and growth do we see in crypto overall. It's anyone's guess at this point in time. This person said, like a Hinman going by in a sports car. This individual said, the judge says the SEC can't appeal now, and essentially the court case is going to take longer to get to that finality. And then he's saying, well, now we're all cheering. Like, that doesn't make sense. Don't you want to get to the end of this thing? And in a lot of ways, yes. We want, with finality, we would like to get that appeal done. But myself, what I want to make sure is that when the next crypto bull run hits, XRP has full liquidity in the United States. We're going to have that at least until 2026. I think we win the appeal and it's permanent if they even go there and they don't settle sooner. So, I want to pull all that risk off the table. I don't want to go through an appeal quickly. We know we're going to have the law of the land. XRP is not a security. It will stay like that. And I want to keep that as long as possible so we have a good shot to see XRP perform well in the next bull run. So it's a great point. Yes, we want that finality, but I'm in no rush to jump there, and you get a singular judge that's going to decide these issues, and there's always risk there. I'd rather have the risk-free run that XRP is just not a security, and that's the end of it. It trades on the U.S. market, and let's see how it does in a bull run. That's my logic there, even though it may be counterintuitive. Lastly, Celsius 2.0, they're talking about relaunching. One was enough. I don't need another round of that. What an awful exchange that was, or whatever you want to call it, Ponzi scheme. And I saw this right before I went to record, but Elon Musk is calling for an overhaul of all of the three-letter agencies, essentially, SEC included, and that's the kind of wild stuff you want to watch out for, because probably why he's being targeted here You probably don't want to go down that road, but he doesn't care. He's going to. Not going to say he's wrong. I think he's probably right. But good luck going up against them. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.